Hi, this is Dear Damson, and today I am going to do a part 2 on a painting that I did a few months ago, and it just got posted. So what I'm gonna do with this one is punch the colors a little bit. This is painted on a canvas board. I also glued on that canvas board pages from a book. So we have 4 pages, 2 that are full pages and 2 that are looking like they're almost half of the page. The book is Robinson Crusoe, kind of matches the theme of the painting. So what I noticed is I was using watercolor. I wanted transparency, so that's why I started with watercolor. But the paper of the book did not react the same way or the way I wanted to react as a watercolor paper. So I feel like we can do better with this. So let's try and see what happens. And if you like this video, please give us thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to that channel and push that bell sign for future notifications. And let's begin and see what happens. All right. So let's get a flat brush. This one probably is close to 1 inch, and a flat brush we can easily figure it out. Yep, it's 1 inch flat. And what I'm gonna do is make it wet, not super drippy, but I want to make sure the water is inside my bristles. And I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna start with my background, and I just noticed I'm missing one color, and this is black. So I'm gonna open this black and put some black here, because I think I am going to emphasize on everything that you guys see here a ton. So I'm going to get some blue, and if you see how much I am watering this down, and what I'm going to do is I want to do long brush strokes, not a lot of stopping. So I'm going to have to figure out, do I want to go from here out, which will be easier, or from outside in, which will make me stop somewhere right where the tower is, but I don't want to cross it over. So it will be easier to go from the lighthouse out versus inwards. So if I'm going this way, I most likely will flip my canvas around. Also, if you have easier time going top to bottom, just flip your canvas sideways. So make it easy on yourself. And let's go from, so the top, obviously it's gonna be this way. Do you see how much more that color looks like it's going to stay with us, not turn so transparent like what we saw with the watercolor, I think. So I'm going back and forward. I feel like I can control my hand, not crossing to my lighthouse. And you're gonna see a few little spots here that are little drips from the Mod Podge. I can not cover this even with acrylic, so I'm not gonna struggle right now, just gonna leave it, and later on with maybe a little bit more dry brush I can go over and see if it's going to help if my brush is a little bit more dry. But the acrylic seems so much easy on a surface than a watercolor, because the watercolor needs the paper to kind of cooperate and play along, and acrylics will just cover it up. So I did cover a little bit. I'm not gonna freak out, just gonna leave it the way it is. So now I'm going to the ocean. So I kind of reversed the colors for the top part, I used some of the color that was originally I used on the bottom in the ocean, in the water. And now I'm going to get in here and change the direction of my, I didn't change the direction of the brush stroke, but change the direction of my brush. So instead of using the big side back and forward, I'm using the little side back and forward. So I can see shorter brush strokes, smaller, thinner brush strokes. So there we are. And I can emphasize a little bit more if I want to and make it. And again, I am using more water than I usually use. So that paper might start getting a little bit funny looking again, but once it dries, it goes back to flat. So I feel like we can use a little bit of white, which I still did not put white in my palette. Just a little bit of white. And now since this is not watercolor, I can actually deposit a little bit of the white right here. Make it look like waves. Now they did cover some of the wording, so I'm not gonna go too much into details because I want this words to show. That is more important in this case than how much color we have. So I'm gonna take a little bit of cadmium yellow. I did mix with my blue, but I'm using the wall here. So if you see how it, because I'm using too much water, it just dripped down, but I'm kind of going on the wall of my palette. And now I have this yellow, and I know this yellow is too much, so I need to tone that yellow down. And I am going to use my other palette, which is for another class that it's going to start in a little bit on Facebook Live. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the brown and get this in. Just give a little bit more of a brightness to that painting. It just seems so muted that it was disappearing almost. And I'm gonna emphasize on a few spots, go upward a little bit. I did not pour green in my palette, and the reason why is because blue and yellow will give me a pretty good green. So, and it already pretty much is happening here, so I'm gonna use this, and the green seems to be okay on from the watercolor, but I think I'm gonna make it slightly just give it a little bit of a punch. And what I'm using right now is a filbert. So filbert is very close to a flat brush, except that it's missing its corners. And I can be using a flat brush absolutely the same way as my filbert. So the filbert is a brush that you can use for, let's say, you're making a leaf on the tree, and you're just going to push the brush down and it will give you a shape of a leaf, and it's going to be super easy. But in this case, I just grabbed it. I was preparing myself to use a angled brush, but I did it with the filbert. It's not much different from what I'm using. I'm barely touching, and I'm using the flat side, the small flat side. And let's add a few greens. also I want to add a little bit more of the yellow from kind of to make it look sandy too. Golden sands mixed with the blue. So let's wipe this, or mixed with the green, I should say. Use a little bit of water. But this is a transparent color, so that's helpful. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a skinnier brush. And, or if you don't have a skinnier brush, you also can use a flat or angle brush. So let me do that, because if you don't have a small brush, if you want to do some fine lines, you can still use a flat brush, and I am just going to barely touch the canvas, and you can position it in a way it's comfortable for your hand. And I am going to just drag my hand over, and I'm not touching everywhere. Now I'm going to use the tip and not the whole side, just to get some of the lines that are smaller than my side, because I don't want to make them bigger. And I'm going to fill this shadow, and it is a transparent black kind of. Now that's going to give me a good separation. Again, using the small side. Do you see how now it's starting to stand out beautifully here? And I think it seems a little bit too torturous with the small angle brush, so I'm gonna go to a small round, and I'm not sure if this is a 4 size, but whatever it is, just kind of look at the tip, and if it's making a pretty good point, you can use it. And then there is that, a little bit more emphasizing, and I'm barely using this black. So what's going to happen to my color or my paint that I haven't used? It will get packed up in the bag, and I'll preserve it for either a week and use it next week, or I'll use it in a couple of days, whatever works. So when I'm doing the shadow of this lighthouse, do you see how my shadow is almost like upside down L shape, because our light is coming from here, which means our darkest side will be inside the window on the same side of our light, and the light will hit the corner, the opposite corner. So if my shadows are coming this way in holes, windows, the shadow is going to be the opposite side of the normal shadow on the element, whatever that element is. So let's do that. Let's get this going up. Also, this is one thing I couldn't quite do with the watercolor. I'm going to emphasize on the top. Let's make it illustrated. The top of the roof, this one. How much better that is? Just a little bit, even on the grass. So on the grass, I'm using less of a black, just on one side of the grass, not covering the whole green. Maybe adding a little bit of a shadow. And again, if it's the footprint or if it's a shadow, light is coming from this side, so our shadow will be right. It will be from the left. That's my left hand. Okay, that's it. I honestly wanted to add one window here, so I will do that. It's a much darker window, so I can cover this whole area. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna add a little more shadow right here, because this is an element from the tower. Also right underneath. I'm gonna take a little bit of the white and cover some of even some of the words. It's gonna make them a little bit less visible, but it's gonna give me the illusion of this is painted. Doing the same thing from the other side. I'm gonna use white with a little bit of blue. I will post in the descriptions the colors I'm using. Let's get a little bit of magenta with my blue. So what happens, magenta and blue will give me a purplish color, so I want it transparent. So I wanted to differentiate my sky. So there you are. And you see how I'm pulling the lines on the long walls downwards. And this line here was the line that was really bothering me. So this is what we're gonna do. We cannot delete it. We cannot take white and delete it because I don't want the letters to disappear. So we have kind of a slanted line going upwards, and I want it to be more horizontal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start from here, and I'm gonna go thicker from the top. So I'll give the effect of this line being straight without being straight. So I'm gonna fake it as best I can. And also what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a few words in the sky, and it's going to cover some of the blue. And I'm gonna get a little bit of black. And again, on the tip of my brush, I am going to do one side, not both sides, one side of the wing, the side that it's in the shadow, and maybe a few birds that are much further away. So they're very vague. We don't need to go crazy on that. So I'm gonna take orange and a little bit of that beautiful magenta. So orange and magenta, and I'm going to give my roof a little more life. Do you see how this looks so much better? I barely washed my brush. If I touch it to my napkin, I know I have color, but it's less than what I applied in the beginning. So this seems to me so much better. And if you notice, I did not put my signature here because I wasn't 100% satisfied with it. So now I can do this. And this is my watercolor look with acrylics, and let's observe for a second, see how we are. Where are we? Do we like it? Do we need to change something? There is that glue that seeped through between the two pages, so I can improvise. I can pretend this is another land far away. So let's see if we can do that, and if we mess it up, oh well. So I'm gonna take a little bit of green blue, a little bit of the black, make it transparent, and let's see if I can figure it out. Okay, let's do this. There is a land here. And it's very far, so we don't want to have too much details, but it's going to give us kind of an illusion. And I'm gonna just pull lines downwards, and you see how that too much. Go back to green and pull this upwards, and I'm gonna pull it upwards right here and pull this down. And now we have kind of like illusion that there is some sort of a hill coming from behind. And now this little thing that it was sticking will not be so visible. I'm gonna take a little bit of white, and I'm just going to emphasize on the bottom area. Also, because we added a land there, I'm gonna have to take my water a little bit higher and around. Let's get a little bit of orange in our green, and that's gonna give us almost like a brownish effect. And again, I'm using a lot of water, keeping it brighter. Let's take this dunes a little bit this way, also a little bit on the top, and a little bit here. Tiny bit of that cadmium yellow. So we did change the painting quite a bit. A little bit of the blue. Get it right here. And I think that works. And guess what? I'm gonna turn this video off, and we'll see you next week. I hope you like this painting.